Good morning and welcome to Market Cafe with me Ankur Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. A lot of action has happened overnight. Let's get started with US market check first. Good morning Kanishka, how were US markets yesterday?
Good morning, Ankur. Well, the sentiment on Wall Street was driven by the signals that came from the Fed. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average that ended modestly lower following the Federal Reserve's latest policy update, where the central bank has kept interest rates steady, and Chair Jerome Powell has signaled it would wait to see the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs on inflation before proceeding on rates. Now, the 30-stock Dow that lost about 0.1%. Now, the S&P 500 that slipped about 0.03%, and the Nasdaq Composite, however, we saw a mixed move on Wall Street. The Nasdaq that inched up higher, that is not very high though, marginally higher by 0.13%. Now, remember, the Fed has left its key rates unchanged in a range of 4.25% to 4.5% as the markets were expecting. Nevertheless, it turned out to be a mixed bag of news for investors, as the central bank still has signaled 2 rate cuts this year while simultaneously hinting at stagflationary threat. Now, the policymakers lowered the 2025 forecast for economic growth to just 1.4% and raised the core inflation outlook to 3.1%. Now, apart from the Fed reaction, US stocks have been downbeat this week. Now, on the back of the conflict that's been happening in Israel and Iran, which has also raised oil prices, Ankur.
Yes, oil prices are a little volatile with a positive bias, and they are waiting a signal from US President what will be the US action on Iran. So Brent crude was hovering around $76, and if you talk about WTI, that was around $75. If you see the whole week, $8 was the range where crude is hanging on.
Right. Before heading with more news, let's take a look at all the events that are the cues that we'll be watching out for later in the day. Back home, we have the weekly Nifty expiry today. That's something to watch out for. In the US, it's going to be the Juneteenth federal holiday. In the UK, retail sales data is something that we'll be watching out for. Now, in terms of corporate action back home, Aegis Logistics and AJ Wopak, their Q4 earnings is due today. It's something to watch out for. Thirumalai Chemicals board is expected to mull fundraising. Apart from that, it's also the last day to buy shares to be eligible for a dividend when it comes to Bajaj Auto, Bank of India, HDFC Life, PNB and Tata Power.
Let's get started with the big news which